Ah, the whimsical world of Ni no Kuni. The vibrant color palette, the expressive characters, the fantastical creatures. It all looks so charming, so wonderful, so familiar? Well, sure, I mean, that is if you've ever seen a film from the Japanese animation house Studio Ghibli. My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Ponyo. Any of these ring a bell? If they do, then you've probably experienced a certain amount of deja vu during the animated cutscenes that the studio contributed to Ni no Kuni. The general visual style is unmistakably Ghibli, and you can see it in the way that cars zip across the landscape with foliage flying by, or in the way all these kids burst into tears. There, Oliver. There, May. There, Sosuke. But these similarities just scratch the surface of the many strong parallels that may have caught your eye. Perhaps a certain regal feline looks familiar? King Tom the 14th is the ruler of Ding Dong Dell in Ni no Kuni, so that must make the cat bus from My Neighbor Totoro what, like Tom the 6th? One is your Meowjesty, and the other is Comeouter Transportation, but those big kitties are obviously related. Even Teto from Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind looks like a distant cousin to King Tom's Motorville counterpart, Timmy Toldrum. And what about Oliver's reaction to his first encounter with magic? Just look at the way his hair stands up as he freaks out a little bit. Classic Ghibli. Chihiro in Spirited Away exhibits a similar panicked reaction when she sees her parents turned into gluttonous swine. And even the warrior Ashitaka gets spooked at the sight of a forest spirit in Princess Mononoke. Then there's Oliver's encounter with the hungry Cowlifa. Look at the way he clambers over her giant belly to shove the cheese into her gaping mouth. Now watch as May climbs up on Totoro for the first time and comes face to face with a big gaping mouth. I wouldn't want to get within chomping distance of either of those gobs. These visual similarities aren't confined to the Ghibli-created cutscenes, as you can see. Developer Level 5 Games adopted the aesthetic for the whole world of Ni no Kuni, so you can find Ghibli-esque sites throughout the game. But if you look beyond the superficial, you'll find that the creative connection between these two companies runs much deeper. Indeed, many of the recurring themes from the past decades of Studio Ghibli movies are also featured heavily in Ni no Kuni. First and foremost is the fact that the hero is a kid. Oliver's grand adventure to save his mother resonates with Chihiro's quest to save her parents in Spirited Away, and the two even appear to be about the same age. Though a bit older, the protagonists of Princess Mononoke, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Howl's Moving Castle, and more are all young. Their youthful innocence provides a natural touchpoint for the player or viewer. After all, we were all young once. And it makes their determination in the face of adversity all the more moving. Often this adversity comes from the endangerment of the protagonist's support system, namely their parents. The sick mother in My Neighbor Totoro and the ensorcelled parents in Spirited Away create the same conflict as the death of Oliver's mother in Ni no Kuni. With the most important people in their lives threatened, these children manifest their struggles in parallel, fantastical worlds. The challenges of growing up can often seem daunting and insurmountable to a child, so what better way to manifest this overwhelming feeling than with supernatural forces and outlandish characters? Both Studio Ghibli and Level 5 games infuse their works with creativity and imagination that makes these worlds a pleasure to visit. The verdant paths of deep dark wood in Ni no Kuni echo the mystical forests of Princess Mononoke, while the bustling fairy town recalls the busy bathhouse of Spirited Away. Yet these fantastical worlds aren't the only environmental similarity. Though Oliver's quest takes him to the other world, he returns to Motorville often. Motorville is ostensibly the real world, but it too is a fantasy. The quiet suburban streets, the friendly homogeneous neighbors, even the white picket fences. This place is clearly an idealized version of 1950s America. Similarly, the house in My Neighbor Totoro is a bucolic ideal, representing the epitome of down-to-earth rural life, complete with abundant harvests and friendly critters. The juxtaposition of the ideal world with the fantastical world creates emotionally distinct spaces that underscore the drama of each story. There are plenty of other parallels to spot along the way for folks familiar with the Ghibli-verse. How about the politeness of a child winning over a truculent adult figure? The old man in the woods is certainly charmed by Oliver, and Kamaji the Boiler Man eventually agrees to help the determined Chihiro. How about the fascination with antiquated vehicles? The riverboat in Spirited Away, the biplanes of Porco Rosso, and the old-timey cars of Motorville all hark back to bygone eras. The playfulness of scale is also readily apparent, as characters and locations take on exaggerated proportions to emphasize their actions or characteristics. And then there's the relishing of food, taking simple, immense delight in chomping down on hearty veggies, succulent meats, or the delectable taste of...
It's him! Careful, it's hot! Ha, 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 ha!
So what do you think? Did you notice any other Studio Ghibli influence throughout Ni no Kuni? I'm a long ways from beating the game, so I'm sure there's plenty that I missed. Join the discussion in the comments below, and let folks know what you think about these wonderful, imaginative, and intertwined worlds.
It's so strange. You don't look powerful in the least, but somehow I just know you can beat him. I wonder why.
Thanks.
Anyway, enough of that. It's late.
Okay.